Maya Harper had just finished arranging the peonies when the black Mercedes pulled up to the curb, the same as it had every weekday morning for the past 3 months. She straightened up, brushing soil from her fingers onto her apron, watching as the tall figure emerged from the back seat. Ethan Wright looked exactly like what he was, a man who commanded boardrooms and signed contracts worth millions. His charcoal suit was perfectly tailored, his dark hair styled with just enough product to look effortless, and his jaw was always clean-shaven. He walked with purpose, even the 10 steps from his car to her modest flower stall on the corner of Madison and 42nd. "Good morning," Maya said, already reaching for the white rose she had set aside. He always bought a single white rose. Never explained why, never varied his order, never lingered longer than 2 minutes. "Morning," Ethan replied, his voice deep and measured. He pulled out his wallet, extracting a $20 bill as he did every time, despite the rose costing only $5. "I have change today," Maya said, holding up the cash box she had finally remembered to fill the night before. "Keep it." His green eyes met hers briefly, and something flickered across his expression before he took the rose and turned back toward his car. "Wait," Maya heard herself say. She did not know why. Maybe it was the curiosity that had been building for 3 months, or maybe it was the way the morning light caught the tired lines around his eyes. He stopped, turning back with one eyebrow raised. "You know there are other flowers, right?" She gestured to her stall, where dahlias, tulips, chrysanthemums, and hydrangeas burst with color against the gray city backdrop. "I have a whole selection. The roses are lovely, but variety might be nice." A ghost of something that might have been amusement touched his lips. "I like consistency." "Consistency is boring," Maya said before she could stop herself. Then she winced. "I mean, not that there is anything wrong with knowing what you want. That is actually great for business. Very reliable customer and all that." This time he definitely almost smiled. "I'll keep that in mind." He left, and Maya watched the Mercedes pull away into traffic, wondering why her heart was beating faster than usual. She had regular customers, plenty of them. Mr. Chen bought carnations every Sunday for his wife. Mrs. Rodriguez purchased mixed bouquets every other Wednesday for her book club meetings. The young couple from the brownstone grabbed sunflowers whenever they were in stock. None of them made her nervous. But Ethan Wright did something to the air around him, made it feel thinner somehow, harder to breathe. Still buying the same thing. Her best friend Sadie appeared from behind the stall, carrying 2 cups of coffee from the cart down the block. Sadie helped out most mornings before heading to her job at the bakery 3 blocks over. Every single day, Maya confirmed, accepting the coffee gratefully. "That man is either the most romantic person alive, or he has some serious creature of habit issues," Sadie mused, peering after the long-gone Mercedes. "You ever ask him who the roses are for? Would not that be invasive? You have been selling him flowers for 3 months." "I think you are allowed to be curious." Sadie leaned against the stall's wooden frame, her curly red hair catching the sunlight. "Besides, he is gorgeous, and clearly loaded, and single." "You do not know he is single. No ring. I checked weeks ago when I was helping you set up. Also, Marcus from the coffee cart says he comes through alone every morning. No phone calls that sound romantic, all business talk." Maya shook her head, but she was smiling. "You two gossip about my customers. Only the mysterious, handsome ones who might sweep you off your feet." Sadie grinned. "Come on, Maya. You have been running this stall for 2 years, working yourself to exhaustion. When is the last time you even went on a date?" "I went out with that teacher last month." "That disaster does not count. He talked about his model train collection for 2 hours. Sadie softened her tone. "I am just saying, Maybe the universe is putting a gorgeous CEO in your path every morning for a reason. You do not even know he is a CEO. Marcus Googled him. Ethan Wright, founder and CEO of Wright Hospitality Group. They own like 30 boutique hotels across the country. The man is worth at least 50 million, probably more. Maya nearly choked on her coffee. You and Marcus need hobbies. This is our hobby. Sadie checked her phone and cursed. I have got to run, but Maya, talk to him. Actually talk to him. You have got nothing to lose. After Sadie left, Maya spent the rest of the morning arranging flowers, helping customers, and definitely not thinking about Ethan Wright. Except she was, of course. She thought about the way he held himself, like he carried the weight of something heavy, but had grown so accustomed to it, he forgot it was there. She thought about how he never smiled, not really, but sometimes his eyes would do this thing where they warmed just slightly before going neutral again. She thought about $50 million and immediately felt ridiculous. Men like Ethan Wright did not notice women like her. She ran a flower stall. She lived in a fourth-floor walk-up in Queens with a radiator that clanked and a neighbor who practiced trumpet at odd hours. Her nicest dress had a small stain on the hem she could never quite get out. But then Tuesday morning came, and when Ethan approached her stall, Maya found herself reaching not for the white rose but for a single stem of purple lisianthus. Something different today, she said, holding it out. Ethan looked at the flower, then at her. I ordered the rose, I know, but this is on the house. Consider it a sample, her heart hammered. Lisianthus. They symbolize appreciation and charisma. I thought you might like it. For a moment she thought he would refuse. His expression remained neutral, professional, the same face he probably used in board meetings. Then he reached out and took both flowers, the rose and the lisianthus. Thank you, he said, and something in his voice had shifted, become less automatic. Same price, Maya added quickly. The rose, I mean. The other one is really free. He handed her the 20, and this time when their fingers brushed during the exchange, Maya swore she felt electricity. Keep the change. You know, if you keep tipping me $15 a day, that is over $3,000 a year. You could buy a really nice bouquet with that. Maybe I like supporting small businesses. He glanced at the lisianthus in his hand. Appreciation and charisma and charm. I looked it up last night. Why had she admitted that? Now he would know she had been thinking about him. But Ethan just nodded slowly, those green eyes holding hers for an extra beat. I will see you tomorrow, Maya. He had used her name. She had been wearing a name tag for 3 months, but he had never used it before. It sounded different in his voice, more substantial somehow. Wednesday morning brought rain, the kind of steady downpour that sent most people scurrying past with umbrellas and annoyed expressions. Maya had set up the stall's small awning, but water still dripped onto the flowers, making everything smell green and alive. She was trying to move the more delicate arrangements to drier spots when the Mercedes pulled up. Ethan climbed out, no umbrella, and walked straight through the rain to her stall. You are getting soaked, Maya said, stating the obvious. Water was already darkening his navy suit, plastering his hair to his forehead. So are you. He gestured to her drenched apron and the wet sleeves of her sweater. Yes, but I work outside. You work in fancy hotels. Fancy is subjective. He looked at her stall, at the flowers she was trying to protect, at the water pooling near one corner. Without being asked, he moved to the left side and lifted a crate of dahlias, relocating them to a drier spot. Where do you want these? Maya stared at him. You are going to ruin your suit. It is just a suit. He was already reaching for another crate. Show me where things go. So she did. For 10 minutes they worked in the rain, reorganizing her stall while the morning commuters rushed past. Ethan followed her directions without question, his movements efficient and sure. He was stronger than she had expected, lifting heavy buckets of water without apparent effort. When they finished, the most vulnerable flowers were protected, and they were both thoroughly drenched. "Thank you," Maya said, pushing wet hair out of her face. "You really did not have to do that." "I know." He looked at her stall with something like satisfaction. "Your rose." She handed him a white rose, then impulsively added a stem of blue delphinium. "Another sample. These mean boldness and dignity." Ethan accepted both, water dripping from his hair onto his collar. "You are going to bankrupt yourself giving away free flowers. Consider it payment for the manual labor." He looked like he might say something else, but his phone buzzed insistently in his pocket. He glanced at the screen and his expression shifted back to business mode. "I have to go. There is a crisis at the Midtown property." "Of course. Thank you again." He nodded and turned toward his car where his driver had been patiently waiting, but before he climbed in, he looked back. "Get yourself a better awning, Maya, a real one. You cannot run a business if your inventory is getting destroyed." Then he was gone, and Maya stood there in the rain, holding his soggy $20 bill, wondering what had just happened. Thursday morning was clear and cold, the kind of autumn day that made the city feel almost clean. Maya had been at her stall since 5:30, setting up in the dark, her breath misting in the pre-dawn chill. She loved these quiet hours when the city was still waking up and she could arrange her flowers in peace. When Ethan arrived at his usual time, she had his white rose ready, but she also had a stem of yellow ranunculus waiting. "Let me guess," he said, accepting both flowers. "These mean something too." "Radiance and charm," Maya replied. "You are catching on." "I am a quick learner." He handed her the 20, but this time he waited while she made change from the cash box. When she tried to give him $15 back, he closed her hand around the bills. "Keep it, and get that awning." His hand was warm, his fingers rough in unexpected places, like maybe he did more than just sign papers and attend meetings. The touch lasted only a second, but Maya felt it long after he left. Friday morning brought a surprise. When the Mercedes pulled up, Ethan emerged with a large cardboard box. He carried it to her stall and set it down carefully. "What is this?" Maya asked, curious. "Open it." She pulled back the flaps and found herself looking at a professional-grade waterproof awning, compact and clearly expensive. "Ethan, I cannot accept this." "Why not?" "Because it probably cost more than I make in a week." "Then it is a good thing I did not ask you to pay for it." He crossed his arms, and she recognized the stance of someone who was used to getting his way. "Your flowers were getting ruined. This is a business expense." "It is not your business expense. Consider it an investment in my morning routine. If your flowers die, where will I get my daily rose?" His tone was light, almost teasing, and Maya realized with a start that Ethan Wright was trying to be charming. It was working. "Fine," she relented. "But I am going to pay you back, if you insist." He clearly did not believe she would, which annoyed her enough that she was absolutely determined to prove him wrong. They installed the awning together, Ethan somehow knowing exactly how to anchor it properly despite his expensive suit and CEO status. When they finished, Maya stood back and admired their work. The awning was perfect, extending just far enough to protect the flowers without blocking the view of her stall. "Thank you," she said quietly. "Really, this is incredibly generous." Ethan looked at her, his expression unreadable. "You are welcome." She gave him his white rose and a stem of pink astrantia. "These mean strength and protection." Seemed appropriate. Something flickered across his face, too quick for her to identify. He took the flowers carefully, his fingers brushing hers again. "What made you start this?" he asked suddenly. "The flower stall." Maya blinked, surprised by the personal question. "I used to work in corporate events. Lots of money, lots of stress, lots of doing things I did not care about. Then my grandmother died and left me a little bit of money, and I realized I could either keep being miserable or I could try something I actually loved. She gestured to her stall. So here I am. Probably making a quarter of what I used to, working twice as hard and somehow happier than I have ever been. Ethan was quiet for a moment, studying her with an intensity that made her self-conscious. That is brave, or foolish, depending on who you ask. Brave, he repeated firmly. His phone buzzed and he glanced at it with obvious reluctance. I have to go. The Rose crisis waits for no one, Maya said, trying to lighten the mood, something like that. But he hesitated before leaving, like he wanted to say something else. In the end, he just nodded and returned to his car. Saturday, the stall was busier than usual. A steady stream of customers keeping Maya occupied from morning until early afternoon. She did not realize how much she had been unconsciously watching for a black Mercedes until she noticed its absence. Of course, Ethan did not come on Saturdays. He probably had a life, plans, maybe even someone waiting for him. The thought bothered her more than it should have. Sunday she took off, spending the day doing laundry, calling her parents in Oregon, and absolutely not thinking about green eyes and expensive suits. Monday morning, she arrived at her stall with a sense of anticipation she tried very hard to ignore. When Ethan appeared, he looked different. Tired, maybe, or stressed. The lines around his eyes were deeper and his jaw was tight. Rough weekend, Maya asked, handing him the rose before he could request it. You could say that. He accepted the flower, along with the stem of lavender she offered. What does this one mean? Calmness and serenity. You look like you could use some. She hesitated, then added, Is everything okay? Ethan looked at her for a long moment, and Maya had the strange sense that he was deciding something. One of my properties is having issues. Nothing I cannot handle, just frustrating. The Midtown one. You remember that? You mentioned it last week, during the rain. She felt her cheeks warm. I pay attention. Something in his expression softened. The Midtown one is fine now. This is the Boston property. Contractor problems, permit delays, all the exciting things that come with renovation projects. Sounds stressful. It is part of the job. He rolled his shoulders, and Maya caught a glimpse of genuine exhaustion beneath the professional facade. Some days are harder than others. On impulse, Maya reached for her garden shears and quickly assembled a small arrangement, white roses, lavender, and some soft green eucalyptus. She wrapped it in brown paper and held it out. Here, for your office. Maya, I cannot keep accepting free flowers from you. Then consider it payment for the awning. She pushed the arrangement into his hands. No arguments, CEO orders. He actually smiled then, a real smile that transformed his entire face, making him look younger and infinitely more approachable. I thought you were the CEO of this operation. Exactly, so you have to listen to me. Ethan held the arrangement carefully, looking at it like it was something precious. Thank you. You are welcome. Now go manage your empire or whatever it is you do all day. Whatever it is I do all day, he repeated, amused. I will see you tomorrow, Maya. She watched him leave, that small arrangement of flowers cradled in one arm, and felt something shift in her chest. This was dangerous territory. She was developing feelings for a man who lived in a completely different world. Someone who probably had a penthouse apartment and a personal chef and invitations to galas she could not even imagine attending. But when Tuesday morning came and he showed up with coffee for both of them, 2 perfectly made lattes from an expensive shop 6 blocks away, Maya let herself smile. I figured you might need this, Ethan said, handing her one of the cups. I see you drinking coffee from the cart down the street, but that stuff is terrible. Maya took a sip and nearly moaned. It was the best latte she had ever tasted, rich and smooth and probably overpriced. This is dangerous. You are going to ruin me for normal coffee. Good. He sipped his own drink, looking satisfied. The arrangement you made is in my office. My assistant asked where I got it. What did you tell her? That I have a very talented florist. His eyes met hers over the rim of his cup. She wants to know if you do corporate arrangements. Maya's heart jumped. Are you serious? I do not joke about business. Well, I do not joke about much of anything, according to my staff. He pulled out his phone and typed something quickly. I am sending you her contact information. Rachel will reach out about possibly contracting you for arrangements in our hotel lobbies. No pressure, but if you are interested, the work would be steady. Ethan, that is. Maya felt overwhelmed. That would be incredible. Are you sure? I have been looking for a new florist anyway. The current company we use is overpriced and under-creative. You would be doing me a favor. He finished his coffee and checked his watch. I really do have to go, meeting in 20 minutes. Right? Yes, of course. Maya was still processing the possibility of steady corporate work, the kind of contract that could actually make her business sustainable. Thank you for the coffee and the opportunity and everything. Thank me by making my hotels look good. He accepted his white rose and the stem of pink gerbera daisy she handed him. Meaning, cheerfulness and gratitude seemed fitting. Ethan looked at the bright flower, then at her, and his expression did something complicated. You know, I never really paid attention to flowers before. Now I find myself noticing them everywhere. That is my evil plan. Convert the world one person at a time. He left with what might have been a laugh, and Maya stood there clutching her latte, wondering how her simple flower stall had suddenly become the best part of her day. Rachel called that afternoon, professional and efficient. And by the end of the week, Maya had signed a contract to provide floral arrangements for 3 of Wright Hospitality Group's Manhattan properties. The pay was more than fair, the schedule was manageable, and the exposure could lead to other opportunities. When Maya told Sadie, her friend actually screamed. This is huge. Sadie grabbed Maya's shoulders, shaking her with excitement. You know what this means? You can actually afford things now, like a new apartment or health insurance or maybe even a vacation. Let us not get ahead of ourselves. I still have to do good work. You will be amazing. Sadie's expression turned sly. So are you going to thank your mysterious CEO properly? I already thanked him. I mean really thank him, like ask him out for dinner. Maya's stomach flipped. I cannot do that. Why not? Because he is a client now, that would be inappropriate. He was a customer before. What is the difference? The difference is about $50,000 a year in steady income that I cannot afford to jeopardize. Maya shook her head firmly. Besides, he probably is not even interested. He just comes by for flowers. But Wednesday morning, when Ethan appeared at her stall, he was holding a box from the fancy bakery 2 neighborhoods over, the one Maya had mentioned wanting to try but could never justify the prices. Congratulations on the contract, he said, offering her the box. Rachel said you were professional and creative and she is already excited to work with you. Inside the box were 4 perfect croissants, still warm, their golden layers flaking at the slightest touch. Ethan, you cannot keep giving me things. Why not? Because it is too much. The awning, the coffee, the business opportunity, and now this. She gestured helplessly at the box. I do not know how to accept all of it. Ethan was quiet for a moment, his expression serious. Can I be honest with you? Maya's heart started racing. Okay. I have been coming to this corner every morning for 3 months. At first, it was just convenient, a quick stop on the way to my office. But then I started looking forward to it. to seeing you, to these 60 seconds of conversation that somehow became the best part of my day." He ran a hand through his hair, looking uncertain for the first time since she had met him. "The awning, the contract, all of it, I am not doing it to be charitable. I am doing it because I like you, Maya. I like talking to you. I like how you see the world. And I wanted an excuse to spend more than 2 minutes in your presence." Maya stared at him, her mind racing. "Oh, if I am reading this wrong, tell me now and I will back off. You will still have the contract. Nothing changes professionally. But if I am not wrong, if you feel even a fraction of what I feel, I would really like to take you to dinner." "I feel more than a fraction," Maya said, the words tumbling out. "I have been looking forward to your visit since week 2. I pick out your flowers the night before, research their meanings, try to find ones that might make you smile. This is terrifying because you are way out of my league, but yes, I would love to have dinner with you." The smile that spread across Ethan's face was worth every moment of anxiety. Friday night, Maya confirmed. "I will pick you up at 7. Text me your address." He handed her his business card, the back of which he had written his personal cell number on. "And Maya, you are not out of my league. If anything, I have been trying to work up the courage to do this for weeks." He left with his white rose and a stem of red tulips, which meant true love and passion. Maya had chosen them very deliberately, and from the way Ethan looked at them, he understood. The next 2 days passed in a blur of nervous excitement. Maya Deep cleaned her apartment, tried on every dress she owned twice, and called her mother in a panic Thursday night. "Honey, breathe," her mother said, her voice calm and familiar. "Tell me about him. He is successful and handsome, and he bought me pastries and got me a business contract, and I think I might be falling for him, even though that is completely ridiculous because I barely know him. Does he treat you well?" "Yes, so well it is almost unbelievable." "Does he make you happy?" Maya thought about Ethan's rare smiles, the way he listened when she talked, how he had helped her in the rain without being asked. "Yes." "Then wear the blue dress, the one with the sleeves you like, and go have dinner with him. Everything else will figure itself out." Friday evening, Maya stood in front of her mirror, smoothing down the blue dress for the 100th time. It was simple but elegant, hitting just above her knees, the sleeves covering the small scar on her left arm from a childhood bike accident. She had curled her dark hair, applied makeup with a careful hand, and was trying very hard not to panic. When the knock came at her door at precisely 7 o'clock, Maya took a deep breath and opened it. Ethan stood in the hallway, wearing dark slacks and a white button-down with the sleeves rolled to his elbows. No tie, no jacket, his hair slightly less styled than usual. He looked incredible and human and nervous, which made Maya feel slightly better about her own anxiety. "Hi," she said. "Hi." His eyes traveled over her, warm with appreciation. "You look beautiful." "Thank you. You look really good, too." She grabbed her purse, a small vintage clutch she had borrowed from Sadie. "Should we go?" Ethan drove them himself, no driver, in a sleek sedan that was nice but not ostentatiously so. He asked about her day, told her about a conference call that had gone surprisingly well, and somehow made the conversation feel easy despite Maya's nerves. The restaurant he chose was perfect, intimate without being stuffy, upscale without being pretentious. Their table was by the window, offering a view of the city lights beginning to twinkle in the dusk. "This place is lovely," Maya said, accepting the menu from the waiter. "It is one of my favorites. The chef is incredible. Everything is farm to table, and they change the menu seasonally." Ethan looked at her over his menu. "But if you would prefer somewhere else, we can go." "This is perfect." And it was. Everything was perfect, including the way Ethan kept looking at her like she was the most interesting person in the room. They ordered, and as they waited for their food, the conversation flowed naturally. Ethan told her about starting his business, how he had worked in hotel management for years before deciding to go out on his own. It was terrifying, he admitted. I had a decent job, good benefits, and I threw it all away to chase this idea of creating boutique hotels that actually felt personal. But it worked, Maya said. Eventually. The first year was brutal. I almost went bankrupt twice, lived on nothing but coffee and determination, and seriously questioned my sanity. He smiled at the memory. But I had this vision of what I wanted to create, and I could not let it go. I understand that. That is how I felt about the flower stall. Maya took a sip of wine. Everyone thought I was crazy. Good job, stable income, benefits, and I gave it all up to sell flowers on a street corner. But you are happier. So much happier. Even when I am freezing in winter or sweating in summer or worried about money, I am still happier than I ever was in that office. She met his eyes. I think you have to love what you do, or what is the point? Exactly. Ethan reached across the table and took her hand, his thumb brushing over her knuckles. That is what I noticed about you that first week. You were arranging flowers, completely absorbed, and you looked so content. It made me stop and actually see what I was walking past every day. Maya's heart was racing from his touch, from the warmth in his voice. I noticed you too. You always looked so serious, so focused, like you carried the world on your shoulders. Some days it feels like I do. He said it lightly, but Maya heard the truth underneath. Their food arrived and they ate slowly, talking between bites. Ethan asked about her family, her childhood in Oregon, her decision to move to New York. Maya asked about his work, his hotels, the challenges of running a growing company. The hardest part is not the business itself, Ethan said, setting down his fork. It is the loneliness. I am surrounded by people all day, staff and clients and business partners, but most of the time I feel completely alone. Everyone wants something. Everyone has an agenda, and it is exhausting never knowing who actually cares about you versus who just wants access to your money or connections. Maya squeezed his hand. That sounds really hard. It is why I started buying flowers from you. At first, it was just convenient, but then I realized you treated me exactly the same every day. You did not care that I drove up in a Mercedes or wore expensive suits. You just sold me a rose and wished me a good morning, and that consistency, that genuineness, became the most valuable part of my day. I did care about the Mercedes, Maya admitted, and the suits, but not in a good way. I was intimidated. You seemed so far removed from my world that I convinced myself you would never see me as anything other than the flower girl on the corner. Maya. Ethan waited until she looked at him. I see you. I have seen you since the beginning. You are smart and creative and brave and beautiful, and I cannot believe it took me 3 months to work up the courage to do this. I am glad you did. Maya felt her cheeks warm under his gaze. I really like you, Ethan. I know this is fast and probably crazy, but I feel like I've been waiting for you to show up every morning just so I could see you smile. I do not smile much, he warned. I know. That is why I make it my mission to earn at least one per day. This time when he smiled, it was full and genuine and so handsome that Maya momentarily forgot how to breathe. They lingered over dessert, neither wanting the evening to end. Ethan told her about the white roses, how they were for his mother, who had passed away 5 years ago. She loved white roses. After she died, I started buying one every day, putting it in my office. It makes me feel like she is still with me somehow. Maya's eyes stung with sudden tears. That is beautiful, Ethan. I never told anyone that before. He looked almost surprised at himself. But I wanted you to know. When they finally left the restaurant, Ethan drove Maya home but parked a block away from her building. They sat in the car, city lights reflecting off the windshield, neither ready to say goodnight. "I had a really wonderful time," Maya said softly. "So did I." Ethan turned to face her, his expression serious. "I want to see you again. Not just at your flower stall, although I am definitely keeping that routine, but like this. Dinner or coffee or whatever you want to do. I would really like that." He reached up and tucked a strand of hair behind her ear, his fingers lingering on her cheek. "Can I kiss you?" Maya nodded, not trusting her voice, and Ethan leaned in slowly, giving her time to change her mind. When his lips met hers, soft and warm and perfect, Maya felt like every romantic cliché she had ever rolled her eyes at suddenly made sense. Fireworks, butterflies, the world falling away, all of it real and overwhelming and absolutely right. When they pulled apart, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "You are amazing." "You are not so bad yourself," Maya managed, her voice shaky. He kissed her again, deeper this time, his hand cupping the back of her neck, and Maya let herself fall into him, into the terrifying and exhilarating possibility of what this might become. Eventually they said goodnight, and Maya floated up the 4 flights to her apartment, touching her lips and grinning like an idiot. She texted Sadie immediately. "Best date of my entire life." Sadie's response was a string of celebration emojis followed by "Tell me everything tomorrow." Maya fell asleep still smiling, her phone on the pillow beside her, Ethan's goodnight text making her heart race all over again. "Thank you for tonight. You made me remember what it feels like to be genuinely happy. Sleep well, beautiful." The next weeks fell into a pattern that felt both thrilling and comfortable. Ethan still came by her stall every morning, still bought his white rose, but now he also kissed her hello, his hand finding the small of her back in a gesture that felt both protective and intimate. They had dinner twice a week, coffee dates when their schedules allowed, and long phone conversations late at night when they should have been sleeping. Maya learned that Ethan was an early riser who went to the gym at 5 in the morning, that he loved old movies but hated horror films, that he was surprisingly good at cooking despite rarely having time for it. She learned about his father, still alive but distant, their relationship strained by disagreements about how Ethan ran his business. She learned about the pressure he felt to constantly expand, to prove himself, to live up to expectations that sometimes felt crushing. Ethan learned that Maya sang to herself while arranging flowers, usually off-key and almost always without realizing it. He learned about her grandmother, the woman who had taught her everything about flowers and had believed in her when no one else did. He learned that Maya was stronger than she looked, capable of lifting heavy buckets and working 12-hour days without complaint, but that she also cried at sentimental commercials and worried constantly about letting people down. They learned each other, piece by piece, and somewhere in that learning, Maya realized she was falling in love. It terrified her. She was standing in her apartment on a Saturday afternoon, putting together arrangements for one of Ethan's hotels, when Sadie showed up with takeout and an inquisitive expression. "You are panicking," Sadie announced, setting down the food. "I can tell because you get this look on your face, like a deer that sees the headlights but has not decided whether to run yet." "I am not panicking. You are absolutely panicking. What happened?" Maya set down her scissors and sank onto her couch. "I think I am in love with him. And that is a problem because it has only been a few weeks. Because he is this successful CEO with hotels and money, and a life I cannot even imagine. Because what if I am just a novelty to him, the flower girl who is different from everyone else in his world, and eventually he gets bored?" Sadie sat down beside her, wrapping an arm around Maya's shoulders. "First of all, you are not a novelty. You are an incredible person who runs her own business and is talented and beautiful, and any man would be lucky to have you. Second, have you seen the way he looks at you? That man is completely gone for you. You have seen him looking at me. I came by the stall last Tuesday, remember? He showed up and his entire face changed when he saw you, like you were the sun and he had been living in darkness." Sadie squeezed her shoulder. "Maya, you deserve this. You deserve someone who makes you happy, who supports your dreams, who looks at you like you are the most important person in the world. Stop sabotaging yourself." "What if I am not enough?" The words came out small, all of Maya's insecurities laid bare. "Then he is an idiot and not worth your time." Sadie's voice was firm. "But I do not think that is going to be a problem. That man is in love with you too, even if he has not said it yet." Maya wanted to believe her, wanted to silence the voice in her head that kept insisting this was too good to be true. When her phone rang and Ethan's name appeared on the screen, she took a deep breath and answered. "Hi," she said, trying to sound normal. "Hi yourself. Are you busy tonight?" His voice was warm, familiar, already soothing her anxiety. "Not particularly." "Why? Come over to my place. I will cook dinner, we can watch a movie, and you can see where I actually live instead of just meeting in public." Maya's heart jumped. Going to his apartment felt significant, a step deeper into his world. "Okay, what time?" "Whenever you are ready. I am home all day." After she hung up, Sadie was grinning. "See, the man wants you in his space. That is not something you do for a novelty." Maya spent probably too long getting ready, changing outfits 3 times before settling on dark jeans and a soft sweater. Casual but put together, comfortable but attractive. She took the subway to his address, a high rise in Tribeca that made her stomach clench with nerves. The doorman greeted her professionally, calling up to confirm she was expected before directing her to the elevator. Ethan's apartment was on the 23rd floor, and when he opened the door, Maya momentarily forgot how to speak. The space was gorgeous, all floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city, hardwood floors, and modern furniture that managed to look comfortable rather than sterile. But what caught her attention was the flowers. Her arrangements were everywhere, on the kitchen island, the coffee table, the dining room table, filling the space with color and life. "You kept them all," Maya said, stepping inside. "Of course I kept them. Why would I throw away something beautiful that you made?" Ethan closed the door behind her and pulled her in for a kiss that made her toes curl. "I am really glad you are here. Your apartment is amazing. It is too big for one person, but I like the light." He led her to the kitchen, where ingredients were laid out on the counter. "I am making pasta. Nothing fancy, but it is one of the few things I am actually good at." Maya hopped up on a bar stool and watched as Ethan cooked, his movements confident and efficient. He told her about his morning, a conference call with investors that had gone well, and asked about her day. The domesticity of it all made Maya's chest ache with want, with the desire for this to be her life, for this easy comfort to be something she could count on. They ate at his dining room table, the city spread out below them, and Maya felt like she was in a movie. Everything was so perfect it almost did not feel real. "What are you thinking?" Ethan asked, refilling her wine glass. "That this feels like a dream," Maya admitted. "Your apartment, this view, you cooking dinner, it is all so different from my life." "Different how?" "I live in a 4th floor walk-up with a broken radiator and a neighbor who practices trumpet. My kitchen is the size of your bathroom. I cannot remember the last time I had a view that was not of another building." She said it lightly, but she could not quite hide the edge of insecurity. Ethan set down his glass and reached for her hand. "Maya, I do not care where you live or what your apartment looks like. I care about you. This," he gestured around them, "is just stuff. Space and furniture and things that do not really matter. What matters is how I feel when I am with you, which is happier than I have been in years. Really, really." He stood up and pulled her to her feet, wrapping his arms around her waist. "I know this is fast, and I know our lives look different on the surface, but none of that changes how I feel about you. You make me want to leave work early to find excuses to see you, to be a better version of myself. That is not nothing, Maya. That is everything." She kissed him then, pouring all her feelings into it, trying to convey what words could not quite capture. When they pulled apart, both breathing hard, Ethan rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he said softly. "Not for anything more than this, just stay. Watch a movie with me, fall asleep on my couch, let me make you breakfast in the morning, I just want more time with you." "Okay," Maya whispered. "I will stay." They settled on the couch, Maya tucked under Ethan's arm, some classic film playing on the enormous television. But Maya was not really watching. She was too aware of Ethan's warmth, his steady heartbeat under her ear, the way his fingers traced absent patterns on her shoulder. "I was married once," Ethan said suddenly, his voice quiet. 5 years ago. It lasted 18 months. Maya shifted to look at him, surprised by the revelation. Her name was Veronica. We met at a business conference, got married too fast, and fell apart even faster. His expression was distant, remembering. She loved the idea of me, the success and the money and the lifestyle. But she did not actually love me. When things got hard, when the business hit a rough patch and I was stressed and working constantly, she left. Took a settlement and moved to California, and I have not heard from her since. "I am sorry," Maya said, her heart aching for him. "I am not anymore, but it taught me to be careful, to guard myself, to not trust easily." He looked down at her, his green eyes intense. "But with you, Maya, I do not want to guard myself. I do not want to hold back or play it safe. You make me want to risk everything." "That is terrifying," Maya said honestly. "Absolutely terrifying," Ethan agreed. "But also worth it. You are worth it." They kissed again, slower this time, deeper, and when Ethan's hands slid under her sweater, Maya did not stop him. They made their way to his bedroom eventually, and Maya let herself fall completely, let herself trust that this was real and good and something that could last. Afterwards, lying in Ethan's bed with the city lights filtering through the windows, Maya felt more certain than she had in weeks. This was right. He was right. Whatever fears she had, whatever doubts tried to creep in, they paled in comparison to how she felt when she was with him. "I love you," she said into the darkness, too scared to see his face when she said it. Ethan's arms tightened around her. "I love you too. I have for weeks. I just did not want to scare you away." Maya laughed, the sound watery with relief. "You could not scare me away if you tried." "Challenge accepted," Ethan teased, and Maya could hear the smile in his voice. They fell asleep tangled together, and when Maya woke in the morning to sunlight and the smell of coffee, she felt like her entire life had shifted into focus. The next months were a blur of happiness punctuated by the normal chaos of life. Maya's business grew, her arrangements in Ethan's hotels leading to more contracts with other companies. She hired an assistant, a young woman named Jenny who had a good eye and a strong work ethic. The flower stall remained her main focus, but with Jenny's help, she could actually take a day off occasionally. Ethan's business grew too. A new property in Chicago, expansion plans in Seattle and Denver. He traveled more than Maya would have liked, but he called every night, sometimes staying on the phone for hours even though he had early meetings. When he was in town, they spent every possible moment together. They had their first real fight 3 months in, a stupid argument about Maya not telling Ethan she had been sick. He had found out from Sadie and shown up at her apartment with soup and medicine and a lecture about taking care of herself. "You should have called me," he said, his voice tight with frustration. "You were in Boston dealing with a crisis. I was not going to bother you with a cold. Bothering me. Maya, you are not a bother. You are the person I care most about in this world, and I want to know when you are not okay." He ran his hands through his hair, agitated. "Why is it so hard for you to let me take care of you?" "Because I am used to taking care of myself," Maya shot back. "I have been on my own for years, Ethan. I do not need rescuing." "I am not trying to rescue you. I am trying to be your partner, but you have to let me in." His voice softened. "I love you, Maya. That means I want to be there for the good stuff and the bad stuff, the easy days and the hard days. But I cannot do that if you shut me out." Maya felt tears prick her eyes. "I am sorry." "You are right. I am just so used to doing everything alone that I forget I do not have to anymore." Ethan pulled her into his arms, holding her tight. "We are going to figure this out together, okay? No more shutting each other out." They made up, stronger for having worked through the conflict, and Maya made a conscious effort to be more open, to share the hard stuff along with the good. She met his father at a stiff, awkward dinner where the older man made it clear he thought Maya was unsuitable. "A flower seller," he said with barely disguised disdain. "I am sure that is very quaint." Ethan's jaw tightened. "Maya runs her own business, which is more than you did at her age. She is smart, successful, and I love her. If you cannot be respectful, we will leave." His father backed down, but the tension remained throughout the meal. Afterwards, in the car, Ethan was quiet. "I am sorry about him," he finally said. "He has opinions about everything, and he is never shy about sharing them. It is okay. I knew he probably would not approve." Maya tried to keep her voice light, but she was hurt. His approval does not matter. Ethan reached over and squeezed her hand. "You matter. What we have matters. Everything else is just noise." Maya met his family properly at Thanksgiving, a gathering at his sister's house in Connecticut. Claire was warm and welcoming, her husband friendly, and their 2 kids immediately adopted Maya as their favorite new aunt. Ethan's father was there too, but he kept his distance, and Maya tried not to let it bother her. "He will come around," Claire told her while they were doing dishes. "Ethan has never been serious about anyone since his divorce. The fact that he brought you here, that he looks at you the way he does, that means everything. Dad will see it eventually." Ethan brought Maya home for Christmas, flying with her to Oregon to meet her parents. Her mother loved him immediately, hugging him tight and thanking him for making her daughter so happy. Her father was more reserved, pulling Ethan aside for a conversation that made Maya nervous. "What did he say?" she asked later. "That if I hurt you, he knows how to hide a body where no one will find it." Ethan grinned. "I like your parents." They spent New Year's Eve at a party thrown by one of Ethan's business partners, a glittering affair in a penthouse with champagne and designer dresses. Maya felt out of place in her borrowed gown, surrounded by people who casually discussed million-dollar deals and exotic vacations. Ethan found her on the balcony, staring out at the city. "Hiding?" he asked, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Overwhelmed," she admitted. "Everyone in their lives in a different universe than me. They are just people, Maya. Most of them are boring. None of them make me as happy as you do." He kissed her neck. "In about 3 minutes it will be midnight. I want to start the new year exactly where I want to spend it, with you." They counted down together, just the 2 of them on the balcony, and when midnight struck and fireworks exploded over the city, Ethan kissed her like she was the only person in the world. "I love you," he said against her lips. "This year, next year, every year after that. You are it for me, Maya." "You are it for me too," she whispered back, and meant it with every fiber of her being. Valentine's Day, Ethan closed down an entire botanical garden for a private dinner. They ate surrounded by thousands of flowers, the air heavy with fragrance and romance. It was over the top and perfect, and so typically Ethan that Maya could not stop smiling. "This is insane," she said, looking around at the elaborate setup. "You sell flowers for a living. I figured you might appreciate the setting." He was watching her with that intense focus he got sometimes, like he was memorizing every detail of the moment. "I love it. I love you." She reached across the table for his hand. "Thank you for this, for all of it. I wanted tonight to be special." Ethan stood up and came around the table, and Maya's heart started racing when he dropped to one knee. "Oh my God," she breathed. "Maya Harper, you walked into my life through a simple transaction, a flower sold on a street corner, and you changed everything. You made me remember what it feels like to be happy, to want something more than just success and achievement. You are the best part of every day, the person I want to tell everything to, the future I never knew I was looking for." He pulled out a velvet box and opened it, revealing a stunning ring, elegant and classic and perfect. "Will you marry me?" Maya was crying, happy tears streaming down her face as she nodded. "Yes, yes, absolutely yes." Ethan slipped the ring on her finger and stood, pulling her into a kiss that felt like a promise, like a beginning, like everything good in the world condensed into a single moment. They got married 4 months later, a small ceremony in the botanical garden where he had proposed. Maya wore a simple white dress. Ethan looked incredible in his tuxedo, and their closest friends and family surrounded them as they promised forever to each other. Sadie was Maya's maid of honor, crying through the entire ceremony. Claire was there with her family, and even Ethan's father showed up, his expression softer than Maya had ever seen it. Her parents beamed from the front row, her mother dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. "I love you," Ethan said when it was his turn to speak his vows. "I love your passion, your creativity, your stubborn independence, and your enormous heart. You make me want to be better, to do more, to live fully instead of just existing. I promise to support your dreams, to pick up flowers from your stall every morning, even though I will probably own the whole operation eventually." Everyone laughed, including Maya. "I promise to tell you when I am not okay, to let you take care of me sometimes, and to always make you smile at least once a day. I promise to love you through the easy times and the hard times, through success and failure, through everything life throws at us. You are my partner, my best friend, and the love of my life. I am so grateful that you stopped me one morning and offered me a different flower." Maya's vows were equally heartfelt, her voice shaking with emotion as she told him how he had changed her life, how he had shown her that it was okay to want more, to dream bigger, to let someone in completely. When they were pronounced married, Ethan kissed her like he had been waiting his entire life for that moment, and Maya kissed him back with equal fervor, both of them grinning through their tears. The reception was joyful and intimate, dancing and laughter and toasts that made everyone cry. Ethan's best man, his college roommate Marcus, told embarrassing stories that made Ethan groan and Maya laugh until she could not breathe. Sadie gave a speech about true love and perfect matches, and how she had known from the beginning that they were meant to be together. When they finally left, sneaking away from the party while everyone was distracted, Ethan carried Maya over the threshold of their new apartment, the one they had chosen together, combining his space and her dreams into something that was uniquely theirs. "Hello, Mrs. Wright," Ethan said, setting her down gently. "Hello, Mr. Wright." Maya pulled him down for a kiss. "Best day of my life, mine too." They honeymooned in Italy, 2 weeks of wine and pasta and historic cities. Ethan showed her Florence and Venice and Rome, and Maya dragged him through countless flower markets, marveling at varieties she had never seen before. They took cooking classes and toured vineyards and made love in hotel rooms overlooking ancient streets. "We should do this every year," Maya said one evening, sitting on a balcony in Tuscany with a glass of wine and Ethan's arm around her shoulders. "Deal. Pick the country. I will make it happen." When they returned to New York, life settled into a new normal. Maya expanded her business, opening an actual shop in addition to her stall, hiring more staff, taking on bigger contracts. Ethan opened 2 new hotels and started looking at international expansion. They were busy, sometimes exhaustingly so, but they made time for each other, protecting their mornings and evenings like sacred spaces. Ethan still stopped by Maya's stall every morning, even though they had left the same apartment. He bought a white rose for his office, and whatever flower Maya had picked out for him. It was their tradition, the thing that had started everything, and neither of them wanted to give it up. A year after their wedding, Maya found out she was pregnant. She told Ethan over breakfast, sliding the positive test across the table with shaking hands. He stared at it for a long moment, then looked up at her with the biggest smile she had ever seen. "We are having a baby." "We are having a baby," Maya confirmed, and then she was in his arms, both of them laughing and crying and overwhelmed with joy. Pregnancy was hard. Maya was sick for months, exhausted all the time, and felt like her body was not her own. Ethan was amazing, rubbing her feet and making her food and handling late-night cravings without complaint. He came to every doctor's appointment, his hand squeezing hers during ultrasounds, his face awed as they watched their baby move and grow. They painted the nursery together, a soft green that reminded Maya of new growth and spring. Ethan insisted on the best of everything, expensive furniture and monitors, and more clothes than one baby could possibly need. Maya let him fuss because she could see how much it meant to him, this chance to be a father, to create the family he had always wanted. Their daughter was born on a snowy December morning, arriving 3 weeks early and making them panic all the way to the hospital. But the delivery went smoothly, and when the doctor placed that tiny, screaming bundle in Maya's arms, she fell in love all over again. "She is perfect," Ethan breathed, his finger stroking their daughter's tiny hand. "You are perfect." They named her Rose, in honor of the flower that had brought them together. Rose Harper Wright, with her father's green eyes and her mother's dark hair, perfect and healthy, and the best thing either of them had ever done. Ethan was a natural father, changing diapers and handling midnight feedings and walking the floor when Rose would not settle. He took paternity leave, something unheard of in his industry, and spent those precious weeks just being present, learning to be a parent alongside Maya. "I never thought I could be this happy," he told her one night, Rose asleep on his chest, both of them exhausted and covered in baby spit up. "I had my work, my success, and I thought that was enough. But this, you and Rose, this is everything." Maya kissed him softly. "You are everything to us too." Life with a baby was chaotic and exhausting and more wonderful than Maya had imagined. She went back to work after 3 months, bringing Rose with her sometimes, setting up a portable crib behind the counter of her shop. Her customers loved it, cooing over the baby and bringing gifts. Ethan rearranged his schedule to be home more, working from their apartment some days, declining travel when he could. They figured it out together, stumbling through the exhaustion and the challenges and the moments of doubt, but always coming back to each other, to the love that had started with a single flower and had grown into something beautiful and enduring. When Rose was 6 months old, Ethan surprised Maya by buying the building where her original flower stall stood. He renovated the ground floor into a proper shop, with climate-controlled storage and a proper workspace, and a small cafe area where customers could sit with their purchases. He kept the stall outside too, though, because that was where it all began. "This is too much," Maya protested, even as she walked through the beautiful new space, touching the clean counters and imagining her flowers displayed there. "It is not too much. It is exactly right." Ethan pulled her close, Rose babbling happily in her carrier. "You gave me everything, Maya. Let me give you this." So she accepted, and she thrived. Her business grew, her reputation spread, and she became known as the best florist in Manhattan. But she never forgot that first stall, never stopped appreciating the simple transaction that had changed her entire life. Years passed, full and busy and good. Rose grew into a bright, curious toddler who loved flowers as much as her mother. They had a son 2 years later, Henry, who had Ethan's serious demeanor and Maya's warm heart. The apartment filled with noise and love and the beautiful chaos of family life. Ethan's business continued to expand, hotels across the country and eventually overseas. He traveled more than he wanted but less than he could have, always prioritizing family dinners and bedtime stories and the small moments that mattered most. They fought sometimes, about schedules and responsibilities, and the never-ending juggle of work and family. But they always talked it through, always came back to the foundation they had built on honesty and respect and deep, abiding love. On their 5th anniversary, they went back to the botanical garden where Ethan had proposed. They had hired a babysitter for the weekend, their first real time alone since Henry was born, and it felt almost strange to just be the two of them again. "Remember when this was our normal?" Maya asked, walking hand in hand through the paths they had walked before. "Just us, no one needing anything, able to be spontaneous. I remember. I also remember being lonely without even realizing it." Ethan stopped walking and turned to face her. "I would not trade what we have now for anything." The chaos, the exhaustion, the toys everywhere and the constant noise. I love all of it because it is our life, the one we built together. "I love it too," Maya said. "Even when I am so tired I forget my own name. Even when I am covered in various child fluids, even when it feels like there are not enough hours in the day, I love this life. I love you." They kissed under the same tree where he had proposed, older and wiser, and even more in love than they had been then. 10 years after that first morning when Ethan had stopped at her flower stall, they threw a party. Friends and family filled their home, celebrating a decade of love and partnership and everything they had built together. Rose was 9, Henry was 7, and they had just found out Maya was pregnant again, a surprise that had them both thrilled and slightly terrified. Ethan stood up to make a toast, pulling Maya to his side. 10 years ago, I stopped at a flower stall because it was convenient. I was going through the motions of life, successful by every external measure but empty inside. And then this amazing woman offered me a different flower, challenged my consistency, and somehow saw past the suit and the car to the person I actually was. He looked down at Maya, his eyes warm. "You changed everything. You taught me that success means nothing without someone to share it with, that love is worth the risk, and that the best things in life usually start with the smallest gestures. A single stem that started everything. I love you, Maya. Thank you for the best 10 years of my life." Everyone cheered and clinked glasses, and Maya wiped away happy tears. Later, after the guests had left and the kids were asleep, she and Ethan stood together in their living room, looking at the framed photo on the mantel from their wedding day. "Can you believe it has been 10 years?" Maya asked. "Sometimes it feels like forever, sometimes it feels like yesterday." Ethan wrapped his arms around her from behind, his hands settling on her still flat stomach. "Ready for another 10, ready for forever," Maya corrected. "However long we get, it will not be enough." "Then I guess we better make the most of every day." He turned her in his arms and kissed her, slow and deep and full of promise, and they did. They made the most of every day through the birth of their third child, a daughter they named Lily. Through the challenges of raising 3 kids and running 2 demanding careers. Through Ethan's father's death and the unexpected grief that brought, the reconciliation that came too late but still mattered. Through Maya's shop expanding into a second location, then a third, becoming a fixture in the city she loved. They grew older together, their hair showing gray, their faces showing lines earned through years of laughter and tears and life fully lived. They watched their children grow, helped Rose through her first heartbreak, cheered at Henry's baseball games, carried a sleepy Lily home from countless dance recitals. Through it all, every single morning, Ethan stopped by Maya's original flower stall, even when she was not there to run it herself, even when it would have been easier to just have flowers delivered. He bought a white rose for his mother, and whatever flower the staff had picked out for him, maintaining the tradition that had started everything. On their 25th anniversary, their children threw them a party, now teenagers and young adults with lives of their own. Rose stood up to give a speech, her voice clear and confident. "My parents' love story started with flowers, which is fitting because they have spent their entire marriage helping things grow. Their businesses, their family, and most importantly, their love for each other. They taught us what partnership looks like, what it means to support each other through everything, to choose love every single day. Dad still buys flowers from Mom's stall every morning, even though they have been married for 25 years. That is the kind of commitment, the kind of romance, that we all hope to find someday." Maya was crying, Ethan's arm tight around her shoulders. Their children had turned out well, kind and thoughtful and ready to make their own way in the world. Everything she and Ethan had built together, it had all been worth it. "I love you," Ethan whispered in her ear. 25 years, and I love you more now than I did then." "That is a lot of love," Maya whispered back. "Good thing we have got time for it to keep growing." They danced together that night, surrounded by everyone who mattered, and Maya thought about that first morning when a man in an expensive suit had stopped at her flower stall. She had been nervous and intimidated, and had never imagined that selling him a single rose would change her entire life. But that was the thing about love, about connection, about taking chances. You never knew which moment would be the one that mattered, which person would be the one who stayed, which single stem would start absolutely everything. Maya Harper Wright had found her everything in Ethan Wright, and he had found his in her. They had built a life together from that simple beginning, had grown something beautiful from the smallest seed of possibility. And every morning, when Ethan stopped by her flower stall, when he bought his white rose and accepted whatever flower she had chosen for him, they both remembered where it all started. A CEO and a flower seller, 2 people from different worlds who had found common ground in the language of flowers, in daily consistency, in the willingness to take a chance on something unexpected. It had started with a single stem, but it had bloomed into forever.